Top 5 surprising Portal Kings for 2022. Yesterday was kind of the obvious list. This is the kind of, if you look down the list of who's doing well, and, you know, some of these might jump out and surprise you. Number 5, Rhett Lashlee at SMU, 12 transfers. SMU has done really well. It did real under Sonny Dykes with transfers and built their team that way. But Rhett Lashlee, you know, he's lost some guys. I mean, he lost Ulysses Bennett, but he's replaced a lot of guys. I mean, at least theoretically so far.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've gone the same route as Sonny Dykes in terms of using the transfer portal to you know, fill in any holes. And yeah, Ulysses Bentley IV, he's a great get for Ole Miss. He was a good player for SMU. They have a loss right there. But, you know, they got Tanner Mordecai coming back at quarterback, our buddy from Midway, who we covered for, you know, the 4 years he was in high school. And he seems to have found a nice spot there. It seems like an offense that will be, you know, fitting and suitable and still mostly what SMU fans are used to. But, yeah, they've really cleaned up in the portal. Or a team you don't think about maybe all that often, but they've done well. I'm very, very curious if he can keep the momentum going because, you know, Chad Morris didn't get to like a really high level, but he got them moving in the right direction. And then Sonny Dykes was able to come in and really put the finishing pieces on it, or maybe not finishing pieces, but, you know, take it up another level. So there's momentum there. I mean, there's always going to be a lack of like passion compared to most other programs at SMU because it's a small school and it's a very rich school, and it's different in that regard. But, you know, people have proven you can win games there and you can compete for conference titles. So I see no reason why Rhett Lashlee can't either.
Yeah. The next person on the list, Craig, Sonny Dykes.
Yeah.
Really doing well there at TCU. And he had to look, Zach Evans was someone we all kind of knew was going to transfer. And you've got probably the most realistic, you know, evaluation of him is when he plays, great.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't play that much.
No, he didn't barely play at all last year. Yeah, he's a good player, very talented. Obviously, a lot of people wanted him for a reason, and, you know, here he is. He's at Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin knows a thing or two about, you know, obviously recruiting on offense. But, yeah, that was a loss. But, you know, Sonny Dykes is a coach who I will say I didn't want him as the Baylor head coach a few years back. I was adamant against that. I just felt like it was not the time period. I mean, you got to remember, and this is when they were replacing Art Briles. I just felt like they needed somebody with some that wasn't just a football coach. And I don't mean to dismiss him that way personally, but he's just not who I thought of at the time was like, come in and change the culture. Yeah. I thought he could come in and just pick up the ball and keep running with it because you wouldn't, in theory, have a lot to change stylistically from what they were doing, especially on offense. And a lot of people were of the opinion, like, yeah, just get a dude in here who can run a really easy and explosive offense and just keep the ball rolling and outscore people. But they needed way more than just that. They didn't need to just continue winning. They needed to, like, upheave the whole entire thing. And they did that with Matt Rule and now subsequently Dave Aranda as well. But I do like Sonny Dykes, and I think he's going to do a good job now. They've lost quite a bit to the portal themselves, you know, previously. But I think now they've got a grip on it. I think he's got, you know, some holes that have been filled. And, you know, I'm very curious to see what happens with, you know, Chandler Morris. Is he able to take that Baylor game last year and, you know, start to be that player kind of week in and week out that you fear? But they're going to be good. Obviously, defense will probably not be quite what we've been expecting just simply because you don't have Gary Patterson anymore. But they bulked up the D-line through the transfer portal. Got Corey Wren from Florida State at running back. So, yeah, I think they've done pretty well.
Yeah, and I think he'll have a better shot of figuring that out than.
But they have, like, they've gotten hit hard by the transfer portal, too. Like, they've, you know, obviously with Sean Mathis, Kari Coleman, Zach Evans. I mean, they've gotten hit with it, but they've been able to make up and at least get their numbers right.
Yeah, they've kept the fire contained.
Yeah, you know. Traylon Smith from Arkansas is a good running back. He's a Texas kid. He's at TCU now, so they've added a couple of backs to the roster, which they needed to. Obviously, Zach Evans moving on and whatnot. So, yeah, curious what year one's like.
Yeah. Number 3, a coach we talked about earlier in the show, Sam Pittman from Arkansas. He's made it a very 5 4-star players. One, Drew Sanders, considered a 5-star by a lot of services. So he's got eight recruits. All of them are 8 or 9. All of them are going to contribute. All of them are going to play. You heard Trey Biddy earlier talking about that and how well they did in filling their holes. He's got something going there at Arkansas, and it's been a long time since you can really say that.
Yeah, it has been. Obviously had the experience there previously, then goes off to Georgia, gets a little bit more seasoned, and obviously has a bunch of success there, and then gets that opportunity to go back and run the program. And I think it's been pretty successful thus far. I mean, there's a buzz, and that's always what's key to me is like if nobody's talking about you, that's fine. But at least when they do talk about you, there needs to be a little something to it, a little sizzle. And some programs just don't have any sizzle, and he's got some sizzle right now. He does. There's a lot of confidence in that team. Trey Biddy said it. He thinks they can win 8 or 9 games this year, and looking at that schedule, if they do that, that would be a tremendous year. Obviously they're just kind of hindered by the fact that they're in that division, that damn division, the SEC West. But outside of that, they'll pop up and beat some teams this year and make a bowl game. And just to what level they compete will be, the big question mark. But no, he's a great coach. It was a terrific, hire, and he's done a great job there.
Yeah. Number 2, Shane Beamer. This one should be less surprising if you know anything about Shane Beamer. But what he's been able to do at South Carolina in a short time, of course, you throw in Spencer Rattler into that, who was the number 1 recruited quarterback in the country when he signed with Oklahoma, now going to be at South Carolina. They've never had a player on offense like that. Now, granted, they had Jadeveon Clowney on defense, but they've never had a player on offense like that. And if he reaches even 75% of his potential at South Carolina, they're going to be way better because, good South. I'm not even saying great South Carolina quarterback. I'm saying good South Carolina quarterback.
How dare you disrespect Steven Garcia like that?
I will do it. I will continue to do it. But it's just not something you say a lot. I mean, he has got one of those jobs, Shane Beamer at South Carolina, if he's there for the long haul, almost like Kansas State. Not quite that bad, but almost. That's a team that's never won that league, and you can't even envision a time where they would win the league. But he's made some moves so far.
Yeah, I mean, just simply getting Spencer Rattler's kind of their headline. They've had a good exodus as well. As more recently, they've had more going out than going in, but they did add a lot, like kind of in that little bubble with Rattler right there almost immediately. And I'm very interested to see how he performs. I think being back with Beamer, the connection they had at OU is obviously going to be very beneficial, and that's why I ended up at South Carolina in so many ways. But yeah, I think he's a good young head coach. I think that was a nice fit at South Carolina. I mean, obviously, you want to have expectations, but you also want to be realistic. I think he's realistic. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And, if Rattler can be the top quarterback prospect type of player that everybody's always talked about him as and that he's shown flashes of being, then that alone will take them to a different level. But, yeah, they've also added some nice pieces on offense, some skill guys around him as well. I really like Austin Stogner as that pickup. That connection already there with Rattler from their OU days should be great. Should be a nice safety blanket for him. So, I like what direction South Carolina is headed.
Yeah. And number 1, surprisingly enough, this one kind of shocked me at how well he's done, at least volume-wise, is Chip Kelly at UCLA. And you want to talk about a program that, I mean, look, basketball-wise, UCLA is in the upper echelon of the Blue Bloods. The greatest coach that ever coached college basketball, John Wooden, coached at UCLA. They had Lou Alcindor and they had Bill Walton. They had, and they've won in different eras, and they've been in Final Fours in different eras. Their basketball program is second to none. Their football program is very blah historically. Yeah. Very blah. As a matter of fact, I think the last UCLA player that people got super excited about was Troy Aikman, and that was 36 years ago, or 33 years ago, whenever it was. But it was a long time ago.
Maurice Jones-Drew, baby.
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's not a lot to write home about. Chip Kelly, I'm still surprised he took this job and not the Florida job. And I think Florida maybe have lucked out in that now that they have Billy Napier, because they probably would still be with Chip Kelly at this time. But
I'll argue that maybe he lucked out too, because you get off to a slow start, you're out of there in a couple of years in the SEC. So I think that's probably what tipped the scale in the favor of UCLA is look at the expectations. I mean, you want to have good expectations, but Florida and UCLA, that's two different beasts that you're competing against as conference. But no, I mean, he's done a nice job. They did a lot of their damage in January. In terms of their pickups, they were pretty active there to start the year. Slowed down a little bit. They've had, like everybody else, everybody's got players coming in, players coming out. So mostly it's been guys on their way out, I think, as of late. But Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, it's the Pac-12, so who the heck really knows? And obviously, he's a guy that now has a little bit of a shadow cast over him from, from the arch rival there with Lincoln Riley. Now he's got that to contend with as well. So those will be fun games. Chip Kelly's offensive mind versus Lincoln Riley's offensive mind. That'll spice it up a little bit. I don't know if that'll make the people of Los Angeles care anymore, but I think it should create some excitement. And yeah, I mean, but I'll agree with you, though. They're just kind of there. I mean, they're just sort of there. They're a team that's there and, has potential, I guess, but so does kind of everybody. So we will see as far as how they do this year. But, yeah, they definitely attacked the portal to start the year off.
Look, let's just think about it. There's a school that's a blue blood right across town from them in the same city that people talk about. When are they going to get back? Nobody ever
UCLA
asks
is way nicer.
When is UCLA going to be a player? Nobody
because
ever asks
everybody knows that
they
they just churn out doctors and scientists and all of that jazz. That's what they're great at. And then obviously basketball as well. But yeah, now that USC's got their priorities in order and they have let it be known that they're tired of being down and they're ready to be back up. I mean, UCLA's got to be on full alert. And, Chip Kelly's a great coach, but, we've all been kind of wondering when that magic from the Oregon days was going to come back, and so far it hasn't.
Yeah.